to another virtual town hall. This is town hall number 7, and I'm super fired up because the enemy is alive. I got some soldiers here, some kings and lions here with me about the conversation. A few days ago, I was talking to one of our young men, and I have to tell this story to set up tonight. And I was asking him what he wanted to do this summer. He said, I want to mentor youth. I want to give back. I said, what do you want to talk to the youth about? He said, I want to talk about the violence and everything that's going on in the city of Chicago. Now, this young man, he started in our program many years ago as a mentee, and now he's worked as an adult mentor. I said, this is what I need for you to do. I need for you to go ahead and put together a proposal. I said, give me 8 weeks. Give me objectives for every week. Give me every lesson plan that you can imagine and put it together. He said, no problem. Within 24 hours, the next morning, he sent me a text message. Check your email, Mr. Singleton, is done. I go, check my email. It's a Google Doc. I open that bad boy up, and sure enough, he had every week laid out. He had objectives for every week, lessons on what he wanted to talk about. But he said, man, I want to tell the youth that life is too short. I said, yeah, this is hot. So Coach Lamb, he calls him, have a 20-minute conversation. That goes well. Before that night was over, I get a call from his mother, crying, saying that he'd been shot multiple times. Here I am rushing to the hospital, same day, praying that he would live, that God will make his life a testimony. Sure enough, God made his life a testimony. And I say all that to say this. We are in war. Everything that we're doing, right, is for the prophetic move of our next generation of youth, our current generation of youth, our fathers, our cousins, our brothers. But listen, fellas, y'all got to help us help you, right? Let's work together. Put these guns down. He had 2 small kids with him walking his cousin to the car. Those babies could have got shot and killed. We just had a 3-year-old shot and killed. We just had a 13-year-old killed. This is enough. And so I'm going to pull in Reverend Briscoe. I'm so fired up. We got to keep these conversations going. We got some very powerful guys that's going to add value to this conversation. So I'm sharing tonight the power of what we're doing. So I'm kicking it off to the endurer, my man, Reverend Briscoe.
We pray for wisdom tonight. We pray for instruction. We pray for guidance. And we pray that our leadership be blessed and ordained by you, that we may carry out the work that you have us in these streets of Chicago. And I'm going to pray tonight in Jesus' name. Amen, as I always do. Amen. I am so excited to be here. We are coming off one of the most horrendous weeks in Chicago. I made a statement earlier in our preliminary meeting that one of our sons got shot because one of our sons shot him because one of our other sons sold him the gun. And we look at that in Champs because we have had some Champs members over our tenure that have been involved in gangs, because we don't just take the A students and the B students. We want them all. When Vondell came on the scene at Gary Comer, he said, give them all to me. I don't just want to deal with one group. I want them all so we can teach them how to love each other right where they are. And that is what we're on. So I'm excited to be the moderator for this night. I want to make one statement because I hear a lot during these times about Black Lives Matter and that Black lives should also matter to Black lives. I want to let the world know that Black lives do matter to Black lives. Black Lives Matter is a social organization. Champs is a community organization. They have 2 separate roles and they have 2 separate functions, and they should not be crossed or mixed up. And what Black Lives Matter as an organization does, we do on the community side of things. There's a lot of community groups out there. I'm a part of an organization called Poet. I'm a part of Champs. We put this work in on a daily, consistent basis with young people. The old school legends of hip hop are out there doing these things in Inglewood through the Rage Tours every summer. And so I'm not taking anything away from Black Lives Matter, but I want people to be able to put in context the role of the Black Lives Matter organization is not community-based. It is socially based on inequity, inequality, and justice. That's what that organization is for. So stop complaining about what the Black Lives Matter organization isn't doing. Put on your shoes, put on your tie, put on your shirt, put on your shorts, get off your behind, consider the ant, and get out there and start putting in work. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce some brilliant minds on tonight. I'm going to let them intro themselves. And so we're going to start with Brother Alpha Benson, then we'll move to Royce Jones, then we'll move to Daryl Cook, and then we'll move to Charles Smith, and then we're going to get into some conversation tonight. Brother Benson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So touched and honored to be here tonight. My name is Alpha Benson, like Alpha Phi Alpha. Alpha Benson. I am the assistant principal at Daniel Webster High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been married for 29 years, and I have 3 grown children. I've been in education for 21 years. And in 2008, I had the privilege of working and meeting Brother Vondell Singleton. We started a group called Fisher of Men. Sadly, after a few years, Vondell, he said, I got a call. I got to go back home. God's calling me. So he went back home. I ended up transferring to another school, and I started a champs group at that school and had the privilege to come to visit Chicago during the first and second champs summit. If you haven't been to a summit, you got to do it. It's awesome. It changed my kids. It changed their world. It was just a totally different atmosphere for them. I am at a different school. This is my first year at Daniel Webster High School. It's a low socioeconomic high school like the one I left before. They don't have a champs group, and there is a huge need for a group. So my charge is to start a champs group at Daniel Webster High School and change some lives, help change some lives of some young men, be there for them. Because I remember in high school needing someone that looked like me to talk to, and I didn't have it. So that's what's foremost in my mind. Thank you.
Man, I don't know how I can come behind that, but I guess I'll try. Royce Jones, I'm honored, man. I mean, thank God. Thank God for Vondell. Thank you to Tony, everybody that's on this panel, man. I am a mental health coach. I'm finishing my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I'm a mentor. I'm an advocate. I work at a local school, volunteering. I've done IEPs. I work with the GED program at Michigan Works. I'm just someone who was out there in the streets, in the community, working with these kids, trying to get them to see their own potential. So that's who I am.
Oh, no doubt, Kings. No doubt, King. Yo, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, Royce. Appreciate you, brother Alpha. And I definitely want to get into who I am. But before I do that, I just want to start off by thanking Principal Vondell Singleton and the Champs Mentoring Program and your ability, bro, to listen to the mentors and the people that the Creator has placed in your path to get all your areas together, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like the things we given to them in Champs, SEL with that social emotional learning, you're not just doing that, you live it. I see you with your children. I see you showing empathy to all the students. I see how you cherish and love your wife. I see how you give space and opportunity for everybody else to grow. You have certainly done that for me in my life. you know. And I just want to say thank you for being there for that mother and auntie who had to make that call to you with that dreadful information. Obviously, they didn't have anyone else to call in that moment, and you made yourself available. You made yourself available, King. So thank you. Thank you for being selfless in the world that's selfish. Brother Briscoe, thank you for your energy. It's no strange happenings that you are where you are now, brother man. You are phenomenal when it comes to connecting and sending the exact same message that Brother Vondell wants to give to the world. You have that voice already, brother. And it's no strange happenings that you are where you are now. And the group that you are part of, Poets, please make sure you tell my brother Black Ice that I said love, man, all right? Because I love the Poets. They are on the ground doing this work all the time. So hats off to Poets and hats off to my name is Daryl Cook. I'm an author. I'm a national speaker. I've been speaking for the last 9 to 10 years. 9 to 10 years. I just seen that it was a gap out here and something was missing. But before I got to that point, let me back up to let y'all brothers know how I got there. You know, because it's no strange happening that we all meeting together. I feel a lot of love. I'm getting choked up now because there's more brothers on the call right now that I had in my whole life to call on if I needed them. We got more men on the call right now. And it's hard, as y'all know, growing up in Chicago, man, you know, and trying to follow in the steps of who you think got the block, who got the community. And a lot of times we fall prey to what I call my 4 F's: my family, friends, finances, and my fiance. We don't know how to deal with relationships, money. I don't know how to accept, disrespect. And because of those things, we find ourselves in the P Down institution. For me, it was double jeopardy because my mom had got locked up when I was 6 years old, and which was devastating. Ripped us apart the first time I ever saw my grandfather cry, having me on one knee and my sister on the other knee, telling us that my mom won't be home. She got 60 years in prison. And I remember sitting on my grandfather's knee and just doing that math in my head. I was 6. I remember asking my grandfather, like, so does that mean my mama won't come home till I'm 66? And I thought about how would I raise myself? Who would I be? And then I went outside and I got into a relationship and didn't realize until after the heat hit that I wasn't prepared. I was old enough to know what sex was 15, 16, 17. I'm old enough to know what a 9mm, a 380, or a Glock is. But I wasn't mature enough to deal with the ramifications that come with pulling the trigger of that 9mm or that 380, or the results of having the baby that came from that sexual act of that woman that I was with. So I was lost out there. The hood taught me, if a woman walk away from me and I was talking to her, the hood told me that was disrespect. And so unfortunately for me, I got locked up for 10 years for an attempt murder. And I say this with all conviction in my heart, and I say this with all sincerity because I know it's a lot of our young men that's on here watching. That was the saddest day of my life, to pull a trigger because I didn't know how to deal with the fact that my ex-wife was moving on with another man. And so I felt as though that my 9 at that moment was more powerful than my mind. Right? I felt as though my 9 was more powerful. I didn't know how to communicate that thought. And so I came up there on Stony like nobody has ever been in this feeling before. Like nobody understood me. Like I felt in the space alone, and I shot. And I'm so thankful that the Creator still has me here. I'm so thankful that the Creator still has my son mother here, because on that day I could have took away my son. I could have took away both his parents. So I'm just thankful to be here today to engage in this conversation and to talk about what we need to talk about. Thank you, Principal Singleton. Thank you, Brother Briscoe. And I'll give the floor to my brother, Charles Smith.
How y'all doing, man? First and foremost, I'm just blessed and honored to be here with all of these amazing individuals. And I'm some people who I think are willing to stand in the gap, not only for this generation but for years to come. My name is Charles Smith. I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we cousins to Chicago. I work at Kingdom Prep Lutheran High School, which is a new all boys high school in Milwaukee, Wauwatosa specifically. We are in year 3 of our existence. I currently serve as like the director of operations. I'm over recruitment and admissions, but I got the itch. I'm going back to school, man, and I need to get back in the classroom. So I am taking up some courses, and I'm trying to get in the classroom to teach African American studies because that's where my passion lies. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and getting back in the classroom. Outside of education, I am also our head varsity coach there, and I run a skills training program by the name of SOP. It's an acronym for Skills Over Politics. So we specialize in on-court training, but we put a heavy emphasis on branding, marketing, and athletic consultations off the court. Because you can be as good as you want to be on the court, but at the end of the day, you are a business, you are a brand, and we help these young guys figure that thing out and just how to navigate through the politics of this game. Um, and I just want to say thank you to Vondale, man. I met Vondale back in 2012. I was with an organization by the name of the Center for Urban Teaching. We used to do these Chicago immersion tours, where we would tour all of the Noble Street schools in Chicago just to get a look at what high performing schools look like. And every time we came to Gary Comer, man, I always made an effort to reach out to Vondale, see how he's doing, see how he operates, how he navigates with the kids. And, a part of him helped me fall in love with education. Um, and we stayed in contact. I came down to one of the champ summits, I think a year ago. I took some of our boys from Kingdom Prep. They had the opportunity to meet ET. And it was just so profound, man. And it's such a blessing. So, I just want to build you up, Vondale, man. Keep doing what you do. You somebody I look up to. And just keep pressing on, bro, because it's people that are really, really benefiting from your yes to God.
That's right, bro.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing, gentlemen. And so I appreciate everyone's comments, and not to single anybody out, but Daryl, your transparency, Brother Cook, is exactly what our young people need. And I'm gonna kick this off with you with a question. Why is it so important to develop a gun prevention program? Why? Tell us about the name that you've come up with, and why is it so important?
So thank you for that question, brother, and thank you for everything that you said right now. I'm blessed to be in this space. So thank you for asking me that. And I think it goes back to like one of the statements I just said, like in that moment, like we get a chance to talk to our men like prior to situations happening. And then the other time that we get to talk to them is after the situation that's taken place, right? We either talking to them on the street in the house or we visit them inside the penal institution. We never there in that space where the gun is hot, where the moment is hot. And so we're not unable to really focus in on what they need in that space. And I know for me, I went through the Rolodex of names of people that I thought I could call in my life that could help me in this moment right now. And I was blank. There's nobody that I felt as though I could trust to say what I really needed to say. And what I really needed to say was, damn it, I'm hurt. Damn it, I'm hurt, man. Did my wife just cheat on me, man? My mother in jail? The homies across the viaduct shooting at us? I ain't got really no money to CTA tokens to make it to school tomorrow. I got to walk to Bowen. I'm hurt. I'm hurt, bro. And now this man who's standing there, society and male expectation makes me believe that if she leaving me and she going with him, then obviously he got something better than me and he's stronger than me. And I felt smart. And I didn't know how to deal with that insecurity. And I'm being real right now and authentic because this is the piece that's missing when brothers come talk to our young men. I felt so small. I felt ashamed. I felt little. And I didn't know how to build myself back up. So when I got locked up, it had to take for me to have a brother like Vondale Singleton be there and him wondering, why the hell am I locked up? Because you ain't met me yet, and you got something you need to say to me. You got something you need to say to me, and I wouldn't have met you no other way. And so when I saw that 17 and 18 and 19-year-old in my cell, still trying to hold on to that shameless pride that we had, like, man, I saw him coming and I upstrap and I bust. Man, so what, man? So what? I'll be here for 25 years. They know not to play with me, but the sacrifice you have to give was 25 years. So we got not just two people who was affected, one person who's 6 feet deep and another person who's in a 5x8 cell, but we got two families that's ripped up. It's like when you throw a rock over Lake Michigan. If it's, y'all remember that? You throw that rock and it skip over.
Sir.
You got a ripple effect, right? So now we got two families that feel outcast to the community. And brother, when I sat inside my cell, I thought about who I would be when I came home. And a lump formed in my throat because I knew it was two people outside of the creator that I had to apologize to, that I wasn't ready to talk to him. One was my ex-wife's father. I owed that man something. I owed that man something. And that was the hardest day of my life, to come to that man and say, I am so sorry to you that I was so weak of a man that I didn't protect your queen and I almost took her life, and I apologize to you right here, right now, today. And I can promise you this, that that man who did that, I assassinated him when I was in prison. I choked him out.
Come on, bro.
I choked that man out. That man that'll hurt somebody inside our community, and I keep my foot on his damn neck. And the second person I had to apologize to was my son, because that's his mother.
Yeah.
That's his mother. And I'm a speaker myself. And I can tell you, as a speaker, even motivational speakers need motivational speakers for their children.
Yes.
And so I brought, Principal Singleton gave me a space. He had ET there. I'm a speaker myself. I can hold my weight with anybody. I brought my son there so he could hear my brother ET talk, because I needed another voice for him to hear. And me and my son sat at Gary Coleman Youth Center, and Vondell did not know at that time that I was incarcerated for shooting at his mom. And so why did I have to come up with a minds over nines? Damn it. Because I don't want another brother to come out here and think that this 9 is more powerful than this damn mind. My mind is more powerful than my 9. Like,
yes.
the mind the pen will send the sword to war. And when I figured that piece out, that pen was more stronger than that, I knew what I had to do. So just like Principal Vondell said, I went back and I did a 12-week program. So I could have 24 sessions to meet twice a week on gun violence. So I can tackle conflict resolution, communication. You're going to learn that even if you're not talking, nonverbal communication is communication, King. Understand, whether you accepted that or not, it was nonverbal communication. What happened every time you a stoplight and you looking at another brother and he looking at you? What's that conversation taking place right there? Cut that out. So we need somebody who can deliver that message. And that's why I created the Minds Over Nines online gun course violence prevention program.
Thank you. Thank you. So Royce, I got to flip to you real quick, because Brother Cook shares so much. And in the midst of struggling and not knowing how to deal with issues without having the right space, I have to ask you, how important is mental health to what we see being impacted on our streets? And how do we make mental health a regular conversation and successful?
Well, first, man, we got to be authentic, and we just have to be real with our own issues. Like, I got issues. I have challenges. I'm broken. I have things that I haven't dealt with in my life. And it was because of those things that I didn't deal with in my life that I came to the conclusion, like, you repeat what you don't repair. And I kept repeating the same behavior over and over and over again. And I realized, like, man, like, listen, there's something here and here that you got to get right. And I wasn't taught this. Like, we weren't taught how to express ourselves emotionally. You know, we didn't. What was social and emotional intelligence? How do you handle your anger? How do you handle rejection? How do you handle adversity? How do you become resilient? What is mental health? It's a relationship with yourself. It's being able to take life's challenges and still be able to operate and say, you know what? This happened. It's okay. I can pick myself up. I can learn from it, and I can keep going. Why? Because that's just a part of life. There's seasons to everything, right? Just because my mom may not have graduated high school, just because my father may have had some mental health challenges, that doesn't mean I have to follow the same footsteps. It's important for me to know some things about that, but just because the shoe fits doesn't mean I have to wear it. And I realize that my mental health is my wealth. Because with that, I can accomplish anything in life. You can gain money, you can gain notoriety, you can gain all these things, but if your mental health is not there, it means nothing. Spiritually, if it's not there, it means nothing. I am nothing without God. First of all,
Yes.
absolutely nothing. And so when you include him, and when you take on that responsibility that, you know what, I'm responsible for me, not anyone else, that's when you say, you know what, okay, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. I'm having struggles with anxiety. I'm having struggles with depression. I'm having struggles with addiction. I have my own addiction. I was exposed to pornography at an early age. And a lot of the young men and women have those addictions.
Absolutely.
So, man, listen, we have to have that level of transparency in addressing our own issues. And once we do that, then our kids, our youth, they'll say, you know what, I'm struggling with this. We got to make it normal, everyday table talk conversations like this right here. And then that'll break the stigma. That'll break it into the place where it's abnormal to now it's normal.
Got it. Brother Alpha, weigh in for us, please. Then Brother Smith, jump in, man, whenever you're ready.
You know, I grew up in I'm going to age myself. During my time, it was not manly for a Black man to seek psychiatric help. You handled it. You handle your issues. And that's wrong. That's wrong. And I believe to a certain point, I don't have statistics, but I believe to a certain point, it's still that way for African American males. It's not manly to go to a therapist and get help. We have to make it okay for our boys to not be okay. It's okay to walk away from a verbal assault.
Come on.
It's okay to be scared. If you're scared, that means you're normal. If you're scared, sometimes that saves your life. It's the emotions that they have, they think there's something wrong with those emotions, when in all actuality, those are normal, but no one's ever told them it was normal. So, as you were saying, Royce, we have to have those conversations. That's why boys group champs is so important. You have to have those regular talks. You have to have those regular check-ins to say, hey, are you okay? What are you thinking today? You never know when you're going to save a life.
Yeah, and I would say, man, I think all of that is important because this generation is growing up in an era of social media where people are only posting their highlights.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's right.
people are not posting the real, like what's happening behind the scenes and the battles that they're fighting in their heads. So if all of these kids are seeing are like lollipops and smiles and giggles, like they really gonna think that's what life is all about, man. And I facilitate a workshop every year during our leadership term. Our leadership term is for all of our freshmen and incoming transfers. They come to our school for about 3 weeks just to get integrated into our school culture. So I run what we call life mapping. And in our life mapping course, we take a sheet of paper and we slice that paper down into 2 sections. One section is our highlights and our accomplishments, things that made us feel good. Like I learned how to ride my bike without training wheels at 4 years old. I made the honor roll and things of that nature. But then we have our obstacles, but we don't call them obstacles. We call them defining moments,
Sure.
so that they understand that, you
Right.
know, what you're going through, that should
That's
not
good.
hold you back. Like, we're not going to let that define us, right? We pushed through it and we got through it. So we got our accomplishments and then we got our defining moments. And man, you just don't understand how vulnerable these kids get. Like, we simulate, we go to YouTube and we put like a little fireplace up on a projector and we treat it just as if we was at camp or somewhere, you know,
Mm.
around a toasted fire to set the mood, man.
Yeah.
And these young dudes reveal so much. And it's like, if we don't get down to the core of this, like, people gonna treat them like they don't know nothing. But people are so afraid to break through to these young people nowadays because they feel like they can't relate and all of this other stuff. But it's like, you ain't even got to relate. You just got to understand. You got to listen. You got to be willing to hear these kids. Like, they going through some real life stuff, man. Stuff that we couldn't even imagine. So for me, it's being vulnerable with them. But on top of that, I have to lead by example. You know what I mean? Like, I can't have them being vulnerable, but when I leave outside of the school, I'm not doing it myself. So Monday, you know, I broke down to my fiance, like, she was driving and we was talking about life and stuff. And I'm just at a point where it's like, I'm a Bible believing Christian, right? And now I literally have to live out this word. And
Yes.
I've been put in situations to where people have spoken ill on my name. I haven't done anything towards them. But our word says the Lord will make your enemies your footstool. And if they're thirsty, give them something to drink. If they're
Yeah.
hungry, give them something to eat.
Yes,
And I'm
sir.
telling her, like, yo, I gotta forgive these dudes. And I don't even want to, but I have to, because that's what my creator says do.
Yeah.
And I gotta listen to my father. So it's like, I'm in a position in my life to where I gotta be vulnerable and I gotta be okay with that, because my vulnerability is gonna rub off onto each and every young man that steps foot in our building, man.
That's real. And I was going to ask you, Charles, what are
Yeah.
some ways we can give hope to our future generations? But you just rolled right into it and answered that question right there by itself. I want to pose a question because I'm developing my listening ear, and everybody's sounding just excellent. The Chicago Board of Education just voted 4-3 not to remove the Chicago Police Department from our public schools. What message do you think we're sending when we say we need police officers in our school? Even though in the Board of Education call, 97% of the people said we don't want them. You have teachers who won't feel safe in certain schools without them. What are your thoughts on the presence of police in schools, and how do you weigh in on that? Royce, kick it off with you, especially from a mental health lens, what that does.
Well, you're in prison and you have guards. You're in prison and you have guards. So you're setting them up for the mindset of you're about to go to prison. I mean, that's your end result anyway. So let me go ahead and set you up for it. And then the teachers, if the teachers are saying they don't feel safe, so that means you don't like the students. you think the students are a threat. So how is that affecting your teaching? How is that affecting how you're treating these kids? And then these police officers, they already have the mindset of it's not peacekeepers, it's not protectors, it's I'm waiting for something to jump, excuse me, to jump off. I'm ready for violence. And now you're putting them in the mindset of I want to act out because it's here. You're already putting them in this mindset, and violence begets violence. Period. It's the same thing with the protesting. Like if you have a police officer and he's in full riot gear, guns, all the other stuff, then that's simple right there.
Yeah, Charles, you're in a high school, so what does that look like for where you are and your thoughts on, police officers inside of schools?
I am torn. And I say that because, I'm built for this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of person, I understand the communities that I work in. I understand, I grew up in it, right? So I understand the communities that I grew up in, but I don't need no police in my, you know what I'm saying, in my area and where I work at. I don't need that. Like my boys don't need that either. I think it sets a negative, like it sets a bad connotation, right? So like our community already don't like police. Now you placing them into environments where our young men consider safe haven, right? Like I'm coming to school to get away from the cops. I'm coming to school to, escape reality. And now y'all got the audacity to bring a piece of that into what I call a safe haven. Like, I don't get it. But on the other hand, I also know how poor leadership in certain schools have allowed things to get really, really bad. And they haven't done a great job at policing the schools.
Wow.
So if you cannot maintain controlling your schools, then that's reality. Then somebody has to govern you. You know what I mean? So if you cannot govern your own school, then the government got to come in and do what they got to do. It's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I think we need stronger leaders in schools. We need leaders who understand the communities that they're working in, and they need to do everything in their power to try to keep the police out of those environments. Like, I don't think we need police in schools, but due to the circumstances that have been placed on us and due to some of our inner city schools, people not caring about them and treating them like the forgotten bunch, this is where we at with it.
Thank you for that. Daryl, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, bro. So I was just thinking that I was listening to the brothers talk right now, and I kind of like caught some of the shows previously that Principal Vondell Singleton had, and he had my brother on a couple of weeks ago, I do believe, and he was just speaking about that, right? And I've seen a lot of this in my history books, and I do PowerPoints on it as well. But I want to talk about us just reflecting and remembering, like the reason that the police were put into action just initially in the first place. And as we all know, of course, to keep us in line, you know what I'm saying, after slavery, to make sure that we weren't getting loose, to keep everything in order so we can see what's going on with you. And fast forward, throughout our time in history, I think about, there hasn't been a time in our life that the oppressor hasn't been on us. From the slave ship to the plantation, to the police officer pulling us over, to the correctional officer inside the penal institution. And on every level, we have been oppressed. And so now we're saying, oh, we missed the gap. Let's put police officers in the educational setting as well. right? So there's no place, as the brother Charles was saying, there's no place that you can go to where you can feel safe enough to even unpack even one layer of the problem that's there because of all the forces, because racism is a moving target. You can't just hit it. They ain't just coming out saying, I'm the one, I'm the one. It's a force, it's a move. And so we're in the educational building and you treating a public health crisis like a criminal justice crisis or a criminal crisis. No, this is a public health issue, bro. This is what I know about my young men, bro. This is what I know about my young men that's in my programs. When you challenge our young men, even our young queens, when you challenge them, 9 times out of 10, they rise to the occasion. Actions speak louder than words. If we have a vote that says 4 here and only 3 here, then you're telling me where we want our resources to go, just like you said, and what we think we need to prepare for in the future. I think that money will be better spent in the public health arena and in the arts arena. Let's get back to not just that STEM, but that STEAM. What are arts at? What about CVS? Do they still got airplanes in the school? Can they still learn construction? It's a vocational school. So I feel as though we should move them from that setting because it sets a tone. It does feel like a prison. And even these couple of months inside the house during this pandemic has felt like being incarcerated. And there's no officer inside here. So imagine how a student feels when they leave their house, that they probably didn't get a meal this morning. He probably had to walk to school and all his homies got on Jordan and I'm the only one who ain't got a pair of Jordans on. I'm gonna make something happen, man. You know what I'm saying? So I really feel as though we need to put those resources somewhere else, man. Give that money to champs so everybody can get a champs program in there. And I guarantee you, champs will be able to keep those young men in line way better than any officer you can bring off the street that's out there, especially when they don't live in our community. Take the money away from that and give it to champs and mentoring and programs like that.
Yeah, K-Wo literally just posted a comment that said, you know, pay the money you were going to pay police officers, pay that to mentors to come in and mentor our schools, right? Brother Alan Gaines asked a question that I saw out there, Vondale, that he said, did anyone offer an alternative? Brother Gaines, they did offer an alternative. Don't quote me, but I believe Alderman Brookins said, well, if you want to take police out, maybe bring in a private security firm. But again, all you're doing is trading one for the other. And I like Alderman Brookins. Like, I'm not knocking him, but again, this is the difference between calling in the Marines or calling in Blackwater, where one follows a certain set of rules and the other ones don't follow a certain set of rules, right? And so even bringing in unarmed security personnel into the schools, you know, I think we have to keep a measure of safety, but I think Charles said it best, and you said it best as well, Daryl, that there were certain situations that led to what had to incorporate policing into the schools. And Charles, you nailed it when you said bad leadership.
Yes, he did.
Brother Alpha, how do we create great leadership inside of schools where parents feel confident, students feel confident, teachers feel confident, everybody in that building under dynamic school leadership feels confident that we're going to run this school in a way that we don't need external policing because we're going to lead with love, and our policies are going to lead with love and not racial bias.
It takes a leader that is bought in, ingrained, and enmeshed, not only in the value of education for all children, especially Black and brown children. It takes a leader that is willing to put all of his or her efforts in, including the people in their neighborhood, in their school. I have been a part of schools where the schools basically stood alone. There was no outside, quote unquote, interference. Very few parents visited school. The the businesses in the neighborhood did not even know, half of the businesses didn't even know a school was in the neighborhood, because the intertwine or the communication with the school, it just wasn't there. I truly believe, I truly believe that a lot of our schools, this is controversial, that a lot of our inner city schools would be better off being charter or private. I really do, because the charter schools I've been a part of has the resources and I don't know what you call it, but they have the resources, they have the, I guess you call it, latitude to do things that a public school can't do. And that's what needs to happen. But in regards to leadership, you have to have the right type of leader that has the heart for children, who knows that he or she can't do it alone. You have to get buy-in from parents. You have to reach out to parents, go to where they're at, reach out to the businesses that want to be a part of your school, convince them that they need to be part of your school. That's the start of it.
Can I touch on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I would say with the leadership piece, I don't know about Chicago and Tulsa and things like that, but I've been having a lot of problems with the way some of our college prep type of schools here educate our Black and brown babies, man. And it's to the point where they got kids walking on straight lines with their hands behind their back. You got to be quiet in the hallways at all times. You know, you got to sit with your hands folded in class. Like, everything is so robotic and everything is like prison. And it's like, and these are in private and charter schools. You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing it on a daily basis.
Trust us, we know.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Like, so that's been like one of the biggest problems for me, is like, when people get in leadership roles in schools that can work, they're still using these methods that hold our kids back. And you know, I challenge leaders and I tell them, like, hey, you can go to the suburbs. I guarantee you they're not treating their kids like this. So why in our inner cities do we think, oh, our Black and brown kids can't handle structure? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do we think our young kids can't handle freedom? Well, we have to teach them freedom. We have to teach them time management. Like, this is a real battle, and I don't think a lot of these leaders understand. Like, if you in this to get a check, don't even sign up for it.
True.
Like, straight up, like, the work is tough, it's strenuous. Right. Some days you're gonna go home questioning yourself because you just put everything in that you had, and it seemed like you're not getting no return on your investment. It's gonna be tons of days like that. But like, these leaders gotta come in these schools and understand that it's not an overnight process. Like, you gotta sow them seeds. Like, you gotta be patient. Like, you gotta be enduring. Like, you gotta be long suffering. Like, it's real. So
yes.
Like, our leaders really have to take on that servant mindset. You know what I mean? Like, if we had more school leaders who thought like servants, we'd be in a much better place.
Bruh, you have said an entire mouthful with that statement. Mm-hmm. And let me just, you're talking about policies in place that continue to reinforce white supremacy in the classroom.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about. And I'm gonna tell you this, it's no secret, I work for the Noble Network of Charter Schools. And I am proud of our CEO, Constance Jones. She was on last week as moderator. And when I talk about a leadership team that is now committed to dismantling every policy that has racial bias and implications out of our network. And it is true, uncomfortable work, but I'm glad I'm here to see it being done. I want to pivot to Vondell real quick to see if any questions have come in out there for the panelists that they can answer. We've got about 9 minutes left, and so I want to use this time wisely. So Vondell, any questions coming in that our panelists can jump on? Loud and clear. So Vondell, I want to jump in because the people are saying that they can't hear you. So I want to reiterate some of the things that
Everybody hear me now? Thumbs up.
we can hear you, but people online are saying they can't.
All right, so yeah. All right, I think I'm on now. Somebody said I'm on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So the social emotional learning, the mental health, we need to double down providing counseling. We need to double down in terms of just everything that we're putting in. It's $33 million that's been dedicated in Chicago public schools for police to be in the school buildings. My wife is a school principal. We understand safety. We understand that there have been some people that have made it work in terms of schools and policing, but by and large, let's fund the solutions that have already been working. This is not rocket science, people, right? So we know mentorship works. We know that putting an educator that looks like our kids in front of them and they're good, the numbers show it, the research shows that they do well in life when it happens. So I think to a lot of y'all points before that we have to go back and figure out a way where we can be at the table when policies and decisions are being made, not being informed after they've been made and said, this is what we're going to do. So we have to be at the table. And so my question is to you guys, what are some other solutions that you feel that we need to really focus on as the summer is in our first week of summer, and we've already have some deep-rooted issues that are springing in front of us.
So we've got about 6 minutes. So let's, if we can, let's try to make those responses pretty rapid and succinct.
Okay, real quick, man. I'll say let's get back to the basic needs, like understanding what their immediate needs are. Because if their immediate needs aren't met, how are they going to come to school and be ready to learn? So figuring that out, what those basic needs are of the child and the parent as a community, figuring that out, then that'll solve some of the issues and the challenges right there.
Unmute Cook.
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
And I'll just say real quick, the conversation just made me think about when I worked in the circuit courts for substance and alcohol abuse, and we use cognitive behavior and social emotional learning with an adult population. But before we got there, before they brought in the social service team, the probation officers were administering the CBT and the SEL to the participants who were incarcerated. Now, I want you to think about that. You know what I'm saying? Like an individual whose job is to mandate. They're trying to give a therapeutic process that they perhaps haven't been thoroughly trained at. So I want to go back to the top of the conversation, what you said, Brother Briscoe.
Brother Cook, real quick. Break those acronyms. No, break those acronyms down for us.
Okay, one of our young men shot out another young man because another man gave him a gun. All right. We need people that's trained on all three levels. See, the person who gave him the gun, he was in that lifestyle already. So we need to be able to respond to the life he's living now. The man who took the gun, we need to intervene in his life. And we're trying to prevent something from happening to our young man. So we have to prevent. 3 different levels of care that we have to give: prevention, intervention, and responses.
And the SEL is social emotional learning. And then the CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's just restructuring their mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll go real quick. I think what needs to happen is inside of our broken homes, we need to check on that single parent and make sure how he or she is doing, especially during this pandemic. You know what I mean? Like, and to be honest, it's mostly women. So we need to check on our single mothers and see how they're doing. And if we get mom healthy, man, the kids will be all right. So we got to go from the top to the bottom. Let's make sure mom's good. Check in on her, you know, get some counseling for mom, and then go from there.
And I piggyback on that. Some kids, because they had to stay home, they've gone through a lot of trauma because they would have been at school, but they're at home and they don't really want to be at home because of what usually happens to them. They're either molested, they're either beat, or they're not getting enough food. We need to check on our babies. We need to check on them. Not only that, I'm a big proponent, especially since we don't know whether or not we're going to be full-time going to school physically or a hybrid of online, going to school every other day. It's going to be stressful. Not only for teachers, it's going to be stressful for kids. It's going to be new. We really need to have, each student needs to have very beginning, but we need to strive to make sure that kids have one person they can go to. I see a kid in the hallway, or I'll call a kid up if we're virtual. Hey, who's your go-to person? If they don't know it, then I need to find one for them.
Yeah.
They